What's up, everyone? Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth as we get ready to rock and roll. Words are hard. We're going to get this down at some point, but thanks so much for tuning in. Whether it's live here on the channel or whether you're tuning in after the fact or whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you may find it, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Week 7 brings another great slate of games. SEC out of conference as well. We're going to be talking about those games, much more. Best bets. Dr. Bob, big time shout out. We're going to show some of his best work that I think he's ever done on tonight's show here on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Coming at you from a different angle, as always. And, man, we're ready to rock and roll. Ralph Leary, Will Mandis, my name is Bryce Koon. Thanks so much for tuning in on a Wednesday night. We're happy to tune in because – has it gone final yet?
It went final.
It went final? Okay. Yeah, we're not going to talk too much about it, but it went final, and it's over. So that's what it is. It gave me a lot of vibes, and we're talking about the Braves game if you have no idea what we're talking about. It gave me a lot of vibes when the Braves went out to the Dodgers, out to LA in 2021, and Chris Taylor hit like 3 bombs, and at some point it just didn't really matter anymore. And then I had an LSU fan DM me that's also a Braves fan. He said, "Hey, look, Game 2 of the College World Series, Florida destroyed LSU like 28-2, and then LSU came back and won it, in the series. So we'll see what happens." But I still think that, potentially Paul Skeens also is probably better than anything the Braves could have thrown out there today anyways. So we'll it is what it is. That's another show, another time. This is college football. Week 7 is here, ladies and gentlemen. We got an action-packed show here tonight. Jonesy's first in the chat. We'll see if that's the only chat that he provides us with tonight. I guarantee it won't be.
I'll take the over on that.
You'll take the over on that? Already getting in on the best bets. I'll tell you one thing. I'm hot. I'm really hot right now in the best bets. It was Navy plus 20.5 that righted the ship for me, which Dr. Bob pushed against me. But, Will, you're looking pretty good. Ralph, last 2 weeks haven't been kind, but there's obviously still some opportunities to get off the snide. You're 3-3. I don't want to get too much into it. You're 3-3. Will is 4-1 with a push this past weekend, and I'm 4-3. But I'm really going to say I'm 4-2 because we're only counting weeks 1 through 6, not week 0. That was just an off the cuff opportunity. Muted. And Ralph's muted. Love it. Absolutely love it. Naked mole rat not being able to talk tonight.
He's so confused.
How are you now?
Didn't have a mic selected.
Got to get that mic selected. But, hey, we're pumped to talk about college football, and we're going to hopefully be better than the Braves pitching staff was tonight. A big slate of games, and we're going to roll right into game number 1. Ralph, throw it up there. Can Auburn overcome LSU's offense in Death Valley? Will, you and I are going to have a full in-depth preview of this game tomorrow morning. So we don't have to, put all the cards out there. We don't have to flip over our entire deck is what I was trying to say. Flip over all the cards of what we're going to say. But
yeah,
this is going to be a great game.
I've got some stats. I'm coming with the stats. 6 of the last 7 games in this series have been decided by 5 points or less.
And the only one that was 2020, correct? The 40-11 win. Was that what it was? Auburn beat LSU.
2020. I know that was in Auburn, so I think it was 2020. So if you like that trend, plus 11.5 looks really good. But to me, it's more than that. This is a really interesting game. 2 teams coming into this one. LSU's, we know how good their pass offense is. Auburn has the number 32 ranked passing defense in the country. So they've been really strong. I am a homer. I will admit that. I'll put that out front. But I think Auburn's secondary matches up pretty well with this LSU receiver core. Might be the best secondary LSU sees all year. And another question mark I have, and you'll be able to answer this, is how healthy is Jaden Daniels? Because it looked to me like he broke some ribs and played through it against Missouri. So if his health is a question mark, that is a huge plus for Auburn.
Yeah, it is. Coming out of the media call this Wednesday, and then obviously talking with Kelly earlier this week, he's ready to go. I mean, they thought it was some bruised ribs. They thought it might have been broken, but it was just bruised. I mean, he's a guy that takes hits, though. We've seen it.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's tough.
He's tough. He's really tough. I questioned back going to the Florida State game when he like jumped into a guy. I was like, what are we doing here? But then you saw against Missouri him fighting through with what would have been a touchdown later. LSU didn't even score on that. I think Ramos missed the field goal. I can't even remember. That being said, the ability to be that small but that shifty, he kind of like glides through the field like defenders. It's not. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, no, I think this game. I hesitate on that 11.5 point line just because of how wild and wacky this game is. It's one of those things, and Auburn coming down to Baton Rouge where they obviously haven't had a ton of success. Well, what was it since 1999? They've won one time down here, and it was Bo Nix's
and it was the
effort.
worst. Hopefully, the worst Auburn coach I'll ever see at the helm somehow came away with that win.
Exactly. It was crazy. So that being said, I mean, LSU's offense is electric. There's definitely a case to be made that it's one of the top offenses in the country, production-wise, especially Logan Diggs. We're going to get into more on this in tomorrow's episode, but I think that LSU sits in a good spot heading into this game. My matchup to watch for was actually on the flip side. Two positions that haven't really made a big impact. Auburn's receivers against LSU's defensive backs. It's two groups that are not really great. And so when you kind of look into this matchup, something's got to give. Like either they're both just going to be bad and non-factors. I don't see that happening.
And Auburn,
it'll be weird.
I'm going to say it every week until they overcome it. I think we're up to 9 consecutive Power 5 games for Auburn where they have not thrown for 100 yards. It's either 8 or 9.
I think it's broken this week. I got a feeling it's broken this week.
I don't know. I think Auburn, that should be a win for Auburn.
It should. Run game too. If they get this run game established, it's going to be really, really, really great.
Auburn got good news in that department. Damari Alston returned to practice this week, so that shoulder injury he suffered against Texas A&M, not as bad as initially feared. They're still calling him questionable for this one, so he probably won't get too many touches, if any. But really good sign that he's back to practice.
Yeah, that hit he took against A&M, well, that was brutal, man. I thought he broke his arm. Like, it really.
I thought it was broken collarbone.
It was rough. You mentioned Auburn's run game. I think that's going to be a key factor in this matchup. The Tigers. Can Hugh Freeze, if he's really involved in the play calling too, I think that's going to make a big difference in this one. If Freeze can be super involved in what they want to be able to do, we talked last night with Jacoby and Guillory, defensive lineman for LSU, and he said, look, it's not as much of a challenge per se because you don't want to speak ill will of yourself. And I get that. I don't think this is a shot at Auburn when he talked about kind of the 2 quarterback system. He said, but they are different. Like you can't negate the fact that these two guys are different between Peyton Thorne and a guy like Robbie Ashford. So I think that they're ready for that. LSU's gone down to a base front, essentially base 4-man front, which worked for them in that second half. But against Missouri, but it has been one of these things where if an offense gets rolling against them on the run and running the football, and the offensive line starts to really, really feel some rhythm, it could be a long day. But I think LSU's talented enough, and we'll have to go more in depth on it on the front side to be able to combat that. We'll see though. We'll see. Ralph, your thoughts on this matchup? And it's a tall task. It's going to be a home game. Hugh Freeze talked about it. He's excited for calling Baton Rouge. He's excited for the sun's going to set in the western sky. It's Saturday night in Death Valley. I will say it does give you chills. Like I was standing on the sideline when they did it for the Arkansas game, and it was like, this is grown man football. This isn't 15K inside Bobby Dodd. That's for sure.
I was about to say,
go ahead.
Not Bobby Dodd.
Yeah, this isn't 15K inside Bobby Dodd.
Yeah, you talk about you had the matchup I was going to say actually. Auburn's receivers against the secondary. It truly is. Can they do enough to at least get this passing game going so it's not one-dimensional offense? I feel like that's what Auburn's been the past 2 years really, because they really haven't had a quarterback that's been able to do anything. Obviously last year you go from Finley, you had Ashford. It just wasn't really anything going.
Look, man, don't give TJ Finley a reason to come at you because dude's putting up numbers at Texas State.
And look, what he could do at Auburn. He didn't do anything at Auburn though, did he?
And he did nothing when he was at LSU in the 2020 games against Auburn.
He got benched against Auburn in 2020.
So my thing is, it's like let either whoever has the hot hand just roll with it. Stop switching up quarterbacks so much. I know it's It works in some systems. Peyton Thorne looks good sometimes, and then Robbie Ashford comes in for 2 drives and he plays really well. Then you take him back out. If he's got the hot hand, leave him in there. I mean, that's just my thing. I mean, I understand you don't have really a set quarterback because one does something better than the other one does, but if one's doing that one thing really good, let it ride for a little bit. Just keep momentum. So
Ralph got to hear me. Ralph got to hear me against Georgia. Why are we taking Thorne out? Why is he coming out? There's no need for this. Why?
Yeah, and I mentioned this too.
Why is Ashford on the field?
I mentioned this too did the podcast with Nathan King today of Auburn Undercover, and we talked about this is going to be something where Thorne's ability to run the football changes a lot of things. The 61-yard run he had against Georgia, like if he's able to do that consistently, it gives LSU. It doesn't allow a guy, honestly, like Harold Perkins, just to beeline for the running back every single time. Like that's going to change a lot of things. Although I don't know if you guys saw this, Harold Perkins is starting to play nickel corner. So he is now going to be playing. It's absolutely nuts. The interception that he had was him playing the nickel position. I mean, it's crazy. The dude's an unbelievable athlete, and I'm excited to watch this game. Nonetheless, we'll have a full, more in-depth preview tomorrow. But Ralph, we'll hold off on our picks. You let us. I'm Chris Fowler. He's Kirk Herbstreit. We're going to hold off. You roll with this one there, Lee Corso.
I'm going LSU 38, Auburn 28.
Okay.
So Auburn covers that 11-point spread.
I will tell you this. My prediction was kind of close to that. I thought Auburn covered. I'll say this. I think Auburn covers. I do believe that Auburn covers. Will, do you want to give that at least?
I think Auburn covers.
Okay. All right. LSU, though, I think we're kind of hovering above that. We'll get it more in depth tomorrow. Make sure you check out.
The question is, does Auburn need the points?
Ooh.
Does Auburn need the points?
Something. That's a little teaser for tomorrow. Let's roll the next game. Obviously, LSU Auburn going to be a marquee matchup there in the SEC West, but as we continue to look at an SEC West, SEC East battle, guys, I remember it was, I believe, 2016 when Tennessee rolled into College Station. It was at kind of what they were able to do. It was the kind of the height of the Jeremy Pruitt era. It kind of felt like with a loaded roster that Tennessee had. Was it Jeremy Pruitt the head coach in 2016? Is that right?
That would have been Butch Jones.
Was Butch Jones. It was Butch Jones. Butch Jones. Apologies on that. So Butch Jones rolls into College Station, and I believe Tennessee lost that game fairly close. Headed into that game undefeated.
They got blasted.
2016.
Blasted. Yeah.
No, it was 45-38 in double overtime.
Oh,
I must have been looking at a different game.
Texas A&M.
Anyways,
I was looking at a different game.
Anyways, I remember going next week to Knoxville, or a couple of weeks afterwards when they played Alabama, and that was a year that they really felt like they had some steam. That being said, we talked about clock management. Obviously, the Tech fans in the chat got a chance to see some of the worst clock management ever known to man. But Jimbo Fisher had some weird clock management at home. It was really, really weird to see that they had a chance. I'll just say that. We don't need to rehash it. Had a chance to really kind of make a statement at home. They couldn't. Now they head up to a Tennessee team that, to me, has talent. They've got ability, but they've just really been inconsistent. So we'll throw it to you. Does Texas A&M have an opportunity here? I mean, they obviously do. I think Tennessee's a 3.5-point favorite currently in this game. How do you feel about this matchup between the Volunteers and the Aggies?
This is going to be a really, 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 really close game. I think it's going to come down to the final possession. I really do. And Tennessee's offense, they get the headlines. I've got stats in front of me pulled up, so if I'm looking down, that's why. Tennessee's offense is going to get all the headlines with Josh Heupel, obviously. I got to stop reading the comments. Joe Milton is starting to settle into this offense. He's played better in recent weeks after that Florida game. But it's a different offense. Tennessee's running the football. It looks different than with Hendon Hooker running it the last couple of years. But to me, the big story is the Tennessee defense. They're really good. They get to the quarterback. They 8th in the country in yards per play. This defense is. So I think the Tennessee defense is the story. I think they can cause some problems. We've seen. I think all three of us have been very complimentary of Max Johnson. He didn't look great against Alabama. That defense was able to limit him. Max Johnson, I think, kind of limits how explosive Texas A&M's offense can be and showing why Connor Wayman was the starting quarterback. Tennessee, they can get to the quarterback. They can make some plays. They can really limit Max Johnson. So I like the home team in this one.
Yeah, I think it's a matchup too that, look, when people think of Tennessee, they think of their ability to throw the football down the field. One of the best names in college football, Squirrel White, has been a dynamic weapon for Josh Heupel in this offense. Here's the key stat for me, though, or the key matchup, I should say, Will. You mentioned Tennessee's defense, which has been a pleasant surprise, I think, for Vol fans. And right there, I had it right there. Dr. Bob, just mentioned right there, Tim Banks. He's been really good. Like he has employed a really good defense of what they have. That being said, they showed it at times last weekend against Alabama. They showed it against Auburn. I think A&M has some of the best talent on the defensive front in the country. Whether it plays all together on a given Saturday, that's a different question. They're only allowing 84 yards per game on the ground. I think if you put this on Joe Milton's shoulders to go win you a football game, if this was a neutral site or if this was in College Station, I would take the Aggies and really wouldn't feel different about it. At home, how does you got a veteran quarterback in Max Johnson who has played in some big time environments? Can he game manage enough and get it to the athletes? Maybe. I'm going to lean though Tennessee in this. I think that A&M's offense is going to be able to do a little bit. The defense is going to be really, really stingy up front. But I think this has a chance to be kind of a slugfest, like in a weird way, and not necessarily a high-scoring affair. I think this has a really good chance to be one of those games that finishes, I don't know, let's say like 28-24. Like one of those games where the offenses are really working against two, like you said, solid defenses. But I'm going to take the Volunteers. I just think in this scenario with a team like Texas A&M, they need this win a lot. Like I think they're going to be playing desperate because they really do need this win to keep their SEC West hopes alive. But this could also be a big marquee win for Tennessee, Josh Heupel, and it would kind of prove to me at least last year wasn't a fluke. Like last year when you had all these unbelievable athletes, it can still work with different faces. So I've got the Volunteers winning in a close one here. I think they cover that spread too. Ralph, how about you? Where do you sit on this game?
I'm going to A&M. I don't want to doubt them out this year. I feel like last year I just kind of laughed at them every game they played.
The whole country did. The whole country laughed at them last year.
And I just think they're a better team. It's just more of a developed. They're it's a lot different than last year. I know last week's game it was came down to the last minute. Honestly, they were one tackle away from having a chance to win that game when Milrow back there was a pass to I want to say it was Jason McClendon, and McClendon had his knee on the ground, but luckily didn't have the ball in his hand yet. Yeah. That would have been a fourth down, and after that it would have probably been you give A&M the ball back with how much time left was on the clock. I don't remember, but that's how far they are from that game. So I don't think they have them unranked right now, which I think is just outrageous to me. A&M's still a very good team. I have Anaya Smith being the game changer this week. Not just on the receiving end, like in special teams. That's where he has just been dominant this year. Watch him to make a few plays on special teams to really change the game and change the momentum going into this game. I mean, you get this Tennessee crowd quiet, it's a lot easier to play there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I do think that look, when you look at the ability to quiet a kneeling crowd, you got to start fast. Can Max Johnson do that? And look, maybe Max Johnson proves us all wrong here, and he's able to be a little explosive. Like he's able to showcase some of the things that had him as a highly touted recruit. There was a reason that he was able to win, some games at LSU when he was the quarterback. There's a reason that they have the faith in him. And you go back to the Auburn game, and he didn't look too bad in that Auburn game. It's just more of being effective down the field with some of those weapons. I could see a scenario, obviously, where A&M wins this game. I think it's a close one. I don't know, though. I'm going to stay with my Tennessee pick there. So I take Tennessee. Will takes Tennessee. Ralph takes A&M. But this is one of those games that gets pretty close to a
graphic.
Yeah, save the graphic right there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's roll on to the next game here, as I think we're taking a step outside of SEC play with this one. And this is one that is going to be very interesting. Will, you talked about this. Let's just get down to it. If you're a Miami football player right now, how much do you trust Mario Cristobal and this coaching staff?
Very little. I mean, if I play for Miami, like if I'm an offensive player, we got to score every time we got to score a touchdown every time we get the ball. If I'm a defensive player, we got to force a 3 and out every time we get the ball. Because if we get down toward the end of the game and it's tight, who knows what coach is going to do? I mean, because that's the worst clock management I've ever seen. It was really bad. But this one, man, I love North Carolina. North Carolina. They have been a covering machine this year. The only spread they didn't cover was against Appalachian State. And they've been not just covering, but they've been blowouts. South Carolina 31-17, not really a blowout, but a 2-touchdown win is big. They beat App State by 6. They beat Minnesota 31-13. They go on the road to Pitt, win 41-24, and blast a pretty good Syracuse team 40-7. And they're doing it on both sides of the ball. Offensively, we knew how good they were going to be, but I still am just kind of in shock at how good of a job Gene Chizik has done in such a short amount of time to fix that defense, because that defense was costing them games. I mean, that game against App State last year, the combined points was over 100, wasn't it? 90 or 100?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Gene Chizik has turned that defense around, and they are legit on defense. And Miami and North Carolina is at home in this game. I like them. I think they can limit Tyler Van Dyke. The run game I think is just kind of so for Miami anyway, but they've got a big physical offensive line. That's going to be the key in this one. Can that North Carolina front get to Tyler Van Dyke? I think on the outside, the secondary can do a really good job on the receivers, but can they get a pass rush? Because we've seen when Van Dyke has time, he can put it wherever he wants to.
Well, unless he's playing Georgia Tech. Unless he's playing Georgia Tech. That's, I was going to even piggyback off this. Like, I think with Van Dyke, you saw when he has a bad game, like when it's bad, it's really, really bad. Mm-hmm. But when it's good, it's really, really good. And so, the jokes are being made and obviously all of these things. You see why there is pro potential in Tyler Van Dyke and why guys have said and scouts have said and analysts and experts have said he could be a pro quarterback. But you can also see the bad. You also see the ugly of what you saw last week. I think there's a game plan of how to stop Miami. But I think Miami's worst enemy in this game is going to be Miami. Like the mental fortitude to be able to come back from what just happened last week. You're going to learn a lot about your team. You're going to learn a lot about are these type of guys in this locker room? Do they trust what's happening? And the coaching staff, do they trust what's happening upstairs? In the coaching booths. I mean, a loss here. If they lose this game, this is a team to watch the rest of the season. How do they respond? And I think immediately having to go back on, go on the road to North Carolina. Dr. Bob said right there, I think that Drake May, when you talk about pro potential, is the best NFL prospect in this year's draft. Is Caleb Williams a better player? Probably. Better athlete? Obviously, that's just absolutely blasphemous to the quarterback
Matt Rule's
position.
Already forgotten about him.
Matt Rule has. That's for sure. Sandalwood High School is trying to forget about him. That being said, I don't know. I think I like North Carolina in this. I don't trust Miami. I've had someone call me about this on Monday or Tuesday and we talked about the game. And they said it's just like Miami because to do something like they did on Saturday night, because Miami is, I think, in this deep in the woods search for what they were in the 90s and 2000s. And they're never going to find that again. That was you caught not only say lightning in a bottle, it was just a very unique situation, culture that you had down there. That being said, now you're constantly trying to prove that you're the big bad Miami team, and you do stuff like you did on Saturday against Georgia Tech. So that being said, I like Drake May. I think, like you said, the defense is much improved. I like some of the weapons. Former Georgia Tech receiver Nate McCollum has been a nice piece for the North Carolina receiving core. So I'm taking North Carolina. I don't know what the spread on this game is.
3.5.
3.5. I think Tar Heels cover. Like I think this could be a game will be very, very interesting to kind of see how this what happens going forward, because North Carolina wins this. To me, they're in the driver's seat for a spot in the ACC title game. If Miami loses this, you really have to consider what is going to be the temperature of that locker room. Are they going to be a 6 or 7 win team at this point? Because things could really start to unravel. Ralph, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm with you on North Carolina covering this game. I think I just think they're just a better team right now. I think after last week, Miami's just in shambles. I mean, honestly, uh,
Mhm.
the way you lose that game. I mean, we talked about it last week too much. I feel like it's you look at the box score alone. Miami won that game easily. Had time possession, total yards, uh, and they just had 5 turnovers. Just didn't play with any kind of purpose. It felt like in the second half, and I just feel like you have no get up to go on the road to North Carolina and try to beat them at 7:30 at night. There, it's just you don't. I just don't see that in this weekend. And Drake May. I mean, Dr. Bob said it perfectly. He's probably the best prospect in the NFL, or for the draft. I agree. He's got a great running back with is it is Hampton? I forget his first name. Is it
Marion Hampton.
Amarian Hampton, who had a if you go back and look at his game against App State, where he absolutely balled out,
He was
that was,
unreal.
I mean, if they get that going against Miami's great rush defense, and then let Drake May just have a casual, 250-yard game with 2 touchdowns, that just take the pressure off Drake May, so he's not doing everything. North Carolina can win this game very easily, and they can cover, and I think they will cover by a lot, actually.
I like it. I think North Carolina has a big chance to make a statement in the ACC. Like I said, I think Drake May is the most talented pro type style type of quarterback that you look at and you see. It's going to be very interesting to see what he can do going forward in this game. Let's take a look at the next game we got rolling on the docket here, and we take a state out west. Where really, guys, I'm wearing purple, but not for that. I should just let you guys talk about this. Ralph has been in on Washington. Will has been in on Oregon. So, Ralph, I'll let you talk about Washington first, and then we'll throw it to Will for Oregon. The Huskies, Michael Penix has just been absolutely on fire, the receiving core. But Washington as a whole, I mean, this is a chance to make a statement in the Pac-12 race. Maybe these two teams face off again. But how do you feel like round one for right now goes?
Well, I just want to comment real quick. I have also been on Oregon with Will. This is not an anti.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you've been
Yeah.
on or off on either team.
But
Yeah.
I've watched a few also Washington games probably this year than more than I have Oregon games. The last game they played was against Arizona. They struggled a little bit. They only won by a touchdown. Probably should have been by more. We also saw
Arizona's a good team.
Yeah, we also saw Arizona compete against USC. So I don't think. I mean, but also that was a game that they're kind of beat up, and they had a rough few weeks, and they finally got a week off last week. Which I guess both teams got a week off. So both teams coming in fresh. It's a home game for Washington. I like that a lot. Michael Penix Jr. has been. I mean, it's unreal what he's doing right now. I mean, you look at the stat lines in the country. Shadur Sanders leads the country in passing yards by like 20 yards over Penix, and Penix has played one less game than he has. Penix is going to
Wow.
he's going to end the year leading the country in passing yards, probably passing touchdowns. He's going to break some records this year. Their offense looks great. They obviously they can throw the ball very well, but they're also running the ball just as well as they are through the air. Defense is where I think they're struggling at because Oregon's got a way better defense. There's not a defense that we see in the past with Oregon. They just kind of have to just boat race everybody. Have to just shootouts and stuff like that. This is the Oregon defense that can stop you, make you force turnovers, make you do different things you're not used to doing. So I want to see how they react to Oregon's defense early in the game because Oregon's defense is going to come after Penix. They're going to want to create him to make him roll out, make him scramble because honestly, he has the best offensive line in the Pac-12. I read a stat line to you. I think when they were playing Cal, I think it was after one of the Tech games. I think it was when Tech lost to or beat Wake Forest, Bryce. They were playing at the same time. Michael Penix in like 300 and something snaps has been sacked one time. So,
wow,
for him having that offensive line, that much trust in the guys in front of him, he's that comfortable with his great receivers. It's a hard team to beat. It's a hard team to game manage around. If you can't rush the passer.
Yeah, it's gonna be something interesting. I mean, Oregon's defense, like you've said, Will, they've been nice. I mean, they've been really nice for a Dan Lanning led squad. When you look at this, the secondary for Oregon does have a little bit of concern when you kind of look at some of the stats, what they're giving up. But Washington's defense ranks 58th in the country in rushing yards allowed per play. I think it's going to be a great game. I still think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that I'm going to say Washington wins. I'm going to say Washington wins because it's a home game, but I don't think this is the last matchup between these two teams. I think that Washington wins because it's at home, but if you get these two teams in a neutral site, it's going to, I don't know. I mean, I think this can really go either way. Your thoughts, Will?
Yeah, look, Dr. Bob said it right there. I've been on Oregon because not time for best bet. Oregon is to me the best team in the Pac-12 on both sides of the ball on the line of scrimmage. They've got Dan Lanning. We knew he was going to bring in a nasty defense, and they've been nasty, giving up 102 yards per game on the ground, just 153 through the air. That's going to go up because Michael Penix and that Washington pass offense is going to get theirs, no doubt about it. But to me, it's the defense, and Oregon. That to me, they're one of, if not the most complete team in the country, with what Bo Nix has done offensively, leading that offense. I've been high on him since he was a freshman at Auburn, since he beat Oregon in his first game. But yeah, it's Oregon controls the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They're really big, they're really nasty, they're really mean, they're really good, more importantly. And Oregon, I'm all on Oregon. I think Oregon's going to win this one. Husky Stadium is weird. It gets loud, but it's not that big, and it's not I think one end is almost totally open end. There's no stands in one of the end zones, maybe both. I can't remember, but
it's 70,000. By the way,
it gets up there pretty good. But
it's got one sideline that goes really high, and then the one end zone it's just kind of like possibly 200 fans in that one section.
Yeah, I don't know that home field advantage means a ton. I mean, I know that this game is huge for both of these programs, both these fans. Well. Oregon does travel well, and Oregon's used to hearing how loud it gets in their place. So I don't think they'll be phased going on the road. Yeah. You got an experienced quarterback, you got a good defense. They got all the makings of taking this one.
I think it could come down to who has the ball last. I mean, if there's like a minute 40 left on the clock and you have a chance to go get a win, I think whoever has the ball in that situation, that quarterback who leads that game-winning drive is going to strengthen that Heisman bid really in a good fashion. But man, this is going to be a really fun game to watch. I mean, I think it could go either way. It's just going to be fun. And this is what, a 3:30 game, 3:30 kick or something like that?
3:30 on ABC.
On
also,
ABC.
The over/under is 67. You might want to hammer the over.
No.
Ooh. You don't think it's going to be lower?
No, lower.
Dude. I think
Oregon defense. That Oregon defense. You look at the scores.
Think Oregon can score 50 though.
They can.
And then Washington's probably going to score 20. I mean, there it is.
Listen, these are the scores of Oregon's games: 81-7, 38-30, 55-10, 42-6, 42-6. They don't give up points. They only gave up points on the road to Texas Tech. That was their first road game.
I think you could say, though, you could make the argument they haven't faced an offense like Michael Penix in Washington. That would be the one.
Well,
that would be the one thing that I think you could
say.
There's devil's advocate.
Colorado's here, That was the
but Colorado's. I mean, Shador's great, but they don't have the talent to run with. Like, I mean, you mentioned it, Ralph. They don't have the offensive line. On. Yeah, they don't have the offensive line.
Yeah, right.
Let's. We got one more game to preview here.
Well,
and this is going to be a fun one. This trophy, weird. Look at that. Weirdest line of the week: Notre Dame -3 against USC. Jonesy, I think it's strictly because USC. That's very true. That's who gave him the script. I think this is strictly Notre Dame's favored because USC and Lincoln Riley refused to put out a competent defense. Like, I think that's the only reason. Notre Dame is battered. Like, Notre Dame has been through the ringer the past couple of weeks. And is this game? This game is at home. Am I right?
Home game.
It's a home game. So yeah, you're going to have to feed off that. But guys, they have played some crazy football games. Going back to the game against Ohio State, you lose that one last second. Then you go play Duke, where that game came down, to the end and having to come back and win that football game. And then this past weekend, you play a Louisville team that Louisville looked really good, and Louisville was able to move the ball on you, and they went up on you. I think that this Notre Dame team is gassed. They're going to have to find another gear. I do like Marcus Freeman. I like what they're building there. We've talked a lot about. I'm really high on Sam Hartman as their quarterback. I think it unlocks a new potential ceiling for them that they haven't had there in quite a while. That being said, I mean, I don't want to just say all of that because then that's why USC is going to win. if USC can stop them at all, or if Notre Dame stops themselves and goes into a lull, I think this game could get ugly. Because I don't know if with Caleb Williams, with the weapons that he has, the offensive mind of Lincoln Riley, like if Notre Dame's just gassed, I mean, do they have a chance? Like, do they have a chance to win this game if they're gassed? And let's say they go 3-and-out on their first 2 or 3 drives, guys, the game could be over. I mean, by that point, I mean, you could be looking at this game 21 or 28-7 at halftime, be like, yeah, this game's over. Notre Dame cannot come back in this game because USC might not stop scoring. Your thoughts?
I gotta lean on Dr. Bob again. I mean, he's the best analyst we've got, and he's just in the comment section. Forecast does not look good for USC. I mean, did you see the video coming out of practice from them today? They've got assistant coaches spraying players with water hoses, simulating rain because it doesn't rain in Southern California. It's going to be wet. It's going to be cold in South Bend. And he said it. Notre Dame is the running team. This is a weird line, but Notre Dame is favored for a reason. Vegas, the house always wins. The house always knows. They know something. And I think they know that USC's defense, they don't have one, and they're not going to find one going across the country. I think this is going to be a ball control game for Notre Dame, especially if it's wet and rainy. I don't know that USC really has a chance because they don't run the ball well. Notre Dame is physical. You knew that was going to be the case with Marcus Freeman. He's always going to have his team physical. He's always going to stop the run. And they just got to take care of the ball. I think if they just take care of the ball, they win this one. And, if the weather is bad, which is what they want, if it gets a sloppy game, they could win this one big. But you said it, they're gassed, but they got to go home and they get to stay home this week. I think that's big. It's a night game. It gives them just a few more hours to rest, collect themselves, and get up for this really, really, really big game, this old school rivalry game that's going to be fun to watch.
No, didn't know the weather. Well, I didn't know we had Rain Man on the other side of things over there. So I think, what's the running back's name again? How do you pronounce his name?
Audric Estime.
Estime. That kid runs like his life depends on it, and he's a really really good.
I'm gonna say what they said about Isaiah Pacheco in the NFL. He runs like he hates the ground.
Ooh, I like that.
That's one of my favorite comments about him. It's true. You watch that man run, he looks like he's kicking the ground when he's running. It's one of my favorite things to watch.
Well, look, I mean, Estime is one of the best running backs in the country. I mean, you look at the numbers, what he's produced. So if that is, let's. I didn't make a pick, so I'm going to backtrack there. If the weather's nasty, that does favor. It does favor Notre Dame. I do believe that Caleb Williams and USC have at least one, maybe 2 more losses on their docket, just because they don't have a defense. And you get into a game, if it's low 50s and raining, like Dr. Bob said, that's the forecast. Well, Sam Hartman might just be able to, run a couple play actions, and they might be able just to say, look, we're going to physically grind you down. We're tired, but we're going to make you feel every single play that we dominate the line of scrimmage. I think Notre Dame's built a little bit before that. So if that's weather, all those things going, I will take Notre Dame. I'll take Notre Dame in this one. Ralph, your thoughts?
I just want to make one comment, though, and there's nothing, no hate against Will. Will said that.
Just say it. You hate him. Just go ahead and say it.
Will said that USC doesn't run the ball very well. Now, they do have former South Carolina running back Marshawn Lloyd, who on 67 carries is on 519 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's almost 8 yards per carry. It's almost 8 yards per carry.
That's set up by their passing game,
which
will be non-existent in a wet game.
Hey, I'm just saying, they run the ball decently. They also have to face a defense enough that's good enough to really stop the run. This is their first real test, a road test. I'm with y'all on Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's just too much. I mean, it's gonna be a physical game. I don't think USC even can be physical enough with USC. Now, if it was at USC, it's sunny, everything, I might just pull USC out just because I think they just outscore them. But in games like this,
Keep going.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. And when it's games like this in the rain, it comes down to who can, get that first down, who can get those yards per carry. I'm taking Notre Dame in this situation.
All 3 of us going with the Irish. Let's take a look now at some of the games we're not really going to preview. Will, I have no clue what yours is, so we're going to let you go first. Go ahead and throw his banner up there.
I put it in the chat.
What's your game to watch?
You're a game to watch.
not game to. I thought we were going to the other one.
No, what's your?
We're actually going first because you're.
I'll go
I don't
first.
know. None of
I'll
them.
go first. North Carolina State at Duke. I think these are two ACC teams that are trying to fight to stay, in the top 4, the top 5 of that ACC. Yeah, former Carrollton High School quarterback MJ. What's his last name?
I blanked.
That's it.
MJ Morris. MJ Morris.
I blanked.
Who was kind of close to coming to Georgia Tech in the portal last offseason, but we don't need to talk about that.
No one cares
about that. I know he had a great performance, in their last game. I think that MJ Morris is a guy that is going to be very, very great. Dr. Bob's going to be at this game. It's at Duke, Ralph. What do you expect? The guy lives on campus. So
He's
altogether, I think
Coach K.
Well, he doesn't coach there anymore, so it is what it is.
He was still there.
I don't think coaches just retire and live where they coached.
He never left. You just don't know it.
If you coach at Auburn, you do.
Anyways, I think that Duke and
Tommy Tuberville still has a house in Auburn. Gene Chizik has a house and a chicken restaurant in Auburn.
Will, tell me what game you want us to watch.
What game are you excited to watch, Will?
Oh, I'm not going to watch this, but I'm gonna throw it out there. Louisiana Monroe at Texas State. Because of the connections to Auburn in this game. You get the old Auburn quarterback, TJ Finley. You get the ex-Auburn head coach, Terry Bowden, on the Louisiana Monroe sideline. Texas State's a big favorite. Can they cover?
Work's hard to get it out.
Where is this game? Is it in San Marcos?
Yeah.
Yes, Texas State.
7 o'clock.
I was going to say, man, if this was at Monroe, I guess I'm just going to skip the Auburn and LSU game and drive up there. I mean, that's where I'm going.
There'd probably be nobody at the game if it was in Monroe.
Good.
The Robertsons might be there, though.
Stop.
Because Louisiana Tech already played this week. They won't be there.
Okay. Due to the factors of Auburn and Uncle Si, Will is going with Texas State against UL Monroe. Absolutely zero bearing on the Sun Belt Conference race, but that's completely fine. We'll roll with that. Ralph, your game to pick. That's
Pac-12 game again this week. I think it's like the third week in a row I have a Pac-12
Ralph,
game.
I just want to say this real quick before you go to this. You claimed the ACC was better than the Pac-12, yet repeatedly you picked Pac-12 games.
Look, they have better games this week than the ACC does. Am I wrong?
They have better games, then how is it not the better conference?
They've got better games every week.
Look,
no one's watching My Best Bet on the CW channel this weekend. And just keep going.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I hope to God no one's watching this game this week.
That's on ESPN.
You know what? I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it just because.
You won't.
What time is that game, Will?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
You watch 12
I'll have it on my phone.
Yeah, okay. All right. Look, I like this matchup. Really, I do. After watching last week, UCLA played really well against Washington State. I was actually shocked because I really thought Washington State was going to come in there and kind of, just outscore them, and they didn't. So UCLA's defense played really well. You got a quarterback at Oregon State, DJU, your favorite person in the world.
Yeah, we all but yes.
Yep, him. I'm never going to learn it. Don't really want to. Don't really care to.
That's fine.
Yeah. To me, this game really decides of who can be that third team out of the Pac-12. Because obviously we have Oregon and Washington in the top 2, and then you got USC, who's just kind of lingering right now because they really haven't played anyone. They didn't look very great last week. Probably going to lose to Notre Dame this week. They still have to play Oregon and Utah this year. So can one of these two teams right here pull out a win here and then kind of just stay under the radar to the very end? So
I want to point this out too. The reason Cam Rising no longer exists.
Yeah,
he is a figment of our imagination. Apparently, okay. All right. I don't know if he did that, but he don't know if he exists. He's a figment of our imagination.
DJ Finley's a better quarterback than Cam Rising, is what we're saying.
Can we answer the question at the very bottom, Bryce?
Sure, go ahead. Let's answer it.
Oh. Who cares?
I don't even understand.
It's not really an answer, but okay.
It's not even a question, really. It's just. I guess it is.
Such a downer on the title. Where was that being a downer? I said they didn't deserve to win. I think everyone said it.
Please don't. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. Let's just
Bryce
move
did
on
the
from
same
that game.
thing.
That was last week.
I agree.
Moving
I
on.
completely 110% agree. It was last week. It isn't English. It was awesome. Okay, so let's get this. Why were you being such a downer? It was awesome. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can still be a downer and
What is
still think it was
happening?
awesome. I don't know. I have no idea. Fantastic profile
Oh,
picture.
he was asking why I was tired. Oh, I had a wedding beforehand. What do you mean?
I don't understand what it is.
Just get out of here.
Let's go to commercial break, and we're going to come back with our best bets. Dr. Bob, just with an Excel spreadsheet, we get to figure out what in the world was Ralph thinking when he took Washington State +3 against UCLA, which you already
And we're
alluded
going
to.
to commercial.
Your soap is ugh, and your body wash is a synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man. Switch to Dr. Squatch Natural Soap for Men. For men who build things. Open pickle jars on the first try. Slay dragons. And let their daughters braid their hair. Men who like to feel good and smell. Titillating. Dr. Squatch takes you places you never thought you'd go. Naked.
Back here at the Crowded Booth, Will Manis, Ralph Larry, my name's Bryce Koon, and now it's time for our favorite segment, Best Bets, where we act like we know what we're talking about and try to give you some advice on that. And Ralph just taking stray bullets in the YouTube live chat. Hey, it's a good reason. If you're watching on Twitter, you're like, I want to get involved. I want to shoot some bullets at Ralph, not literally, figuratively. Ralph's already said someone died, so I think we're completely okay talking
You're
about
shooting
this.
bullets here. I'm going to shoot right back. I'm going to let you know.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Okay, here we go.
Stream is demonetized.
We can't get demonetized. We got to stop getting demonetized. It's
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, we need to stop playing background music in the NCAA streams.
yeah. Well, we got to stop playing in the background, and I got to stop
is that
playing
my
teams
fault?
fight songs. It is what it is. So, hey, but let's take a look here. Dr. Bob, a fantastic job here on the best bet leaderboard on the Excel spreadsheet, brought to you by Microsoft. Exclusive partnership, Microsoft here with the Crowded Booth. He counted my week 0 bet, but as you can see,
Which
I've
he
been.
should.
Which I guess he should. But this is the great part about it. NC State let me down against UConn. SMU Oklahoma I thought was going to be great. Literally missed it. Just awful. But man, I've been on a roll since week 3. Syracuse, Arkansas, Missouri, Rutgers last week helped me out big time. I didn't think Wisconsin had the offense to really pull away from them in that second half. I was right. Ralph with the South Alabama Tulane route, and his hatred for the Jaguars down in Mobile continued as he capitalized on that. Nebraska, Colorado, Ralph did a good job on that one. Kansas State, Missouri, which Ralph, that was a tough beat right there. That's a bad beat because obviously Missouri pulled off the upset. Florida State, Clemson, Ralph needed overtime to help him out there. But Ralph, the last 2 weeks, Kansas has not helped you out. Absolutely got just smeared on
I
the
said 16.5
pavement.
points was a lot. It was a lot.
It
and I
was.
completely off.
But I think it does fit the narrative of why I think Texas, was a playoff team at that point in the season. They were dominating a solid team in Kansas. Washington State, UCLA, a close game. And I will say Washington State almost covered. They almost did cover. They were driving late in that football game.
I watched a little bit of it. I just thought UCLA's defense was a way better. I mean, I was just wrong about their defense. I thought their defense wasn't nearly as good. They came out and they shocked me. And really, man, truly did. Chip Kelly has got a great team over there. He's finally got his quarterback that he can actually work with. Dante Moore is a young kid, and he's uber talented, man. It's crazy how good he's going to be in the next 2 years. So I was wrong with that guy. I mean, the +3 was just standing there in my face, and
Menacingly,
and I took it, and I probably just should have said UCLA -3. That's where I just took that.
I'm okay with you, though, doing that. And then Will, he went out west. This was right after Hawaii and Vanderbilt played. And so Will was really riding high a couple of things. I think he was taking advantage of the Hawaiians emotionally and everything that happened out there with the wildfires. You deal with
Hawaii
that how you might.
Getting back on the island, team struggling. They have to go to the islands. Stanford with a complete program change. I could not have been more wrong.
That's fine, though. That's fine. It was only a 13-point loss. You then had App State covering 19 was a ton of points, and I think we knew better, in that one. I agree with you there. Ole Miss against Georgia Tech. You picked Ole Miss to cover, and this almost didn't happen except if not for some late touchdowns, but hey, it worked out. It worked out. It worked out. Penn State, Iowa. That was easy. Iowa has no offense whatsoever. USF Navy.
That one to me is the best bet he's had.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Because that was during the Auburn Georgia game. Will was just like, yes.
That's what they call sharp in the business.
And then this past weekend, Florida Atlantic -3 against Tulsa.
That's a shame because that line went down. The line actually got down to 2.5 after Wednesday, after the show. But Dr. Bob made me stuck with -3. But that's fair. I put that out there on the show. That's fair.
Look, Dr. Bob does say it's a scary team in the American Conference. But yeah, you take a look at the records. I'm going to throw out week 0 just for the stance of us going against each other since you guys didn't make bets in week 0.
I did. He's one remembers that, I think.
What did you bet week 0?
I want to say, let's go back to week 0 real quick. If it's on, you can pull up from me. Week 1. I want to say I just some random game that was just going on.
Was it Mercer, North Alabama? They might have got that one because that was not the only other game on the entire docket there in week 0. It felt like Nebraska. Did you pick that? Was it Nebraska?
No. I want to say I had Hawaii covering. I think.
Okay.
Was that what it was? What was it again?
I have no clue.
17. Yeah,
I don't know nobody.
I think I said Hawaii cover. I could be wrong. I thought I might have said, but I don't remember. So I could be wrong. So.
You could be wrong, and you probably are. But we're just going to go from week 1. Like Will said, you don't know anybody, so it would be hard for you to do anything. Weeks 1 through 6 we're rolling with. I'm sitting at 4-2 on a nice little 4-game heater. Ralph is sitting 3-3. It's going to be very, very interesting. Jonesy, we're getting to it. This is called entertainment, and that's what we're doing here. Will is 4-1.
4-1.
4-1. So look, everyone's sitting pretty nice. But Ralph, this is a big week for you. It's a big week, and so I'm going to let you go first as we get ready for this one right here. Walk and talk with me here. Who are you rolling with? Like, who is your best bet, and what's going to get you back in this race?
After watching last week's performance, this team, I thought they're going to. I think Will had this bet. Not like I don't think he put it in, but he had this bet on his. Well, never mind.
What?
I'm not going to say that. I don't want to expose you. I have Maryland -14 against Illinois. I think Maryland's they're good. They look really good. All year they played Ohio State. Played a very good first half. That +19 was sitting there, and that's a bad bet. A bad beat. If you had that game, I'm sorry that you lose by 20. That's rough. But this is Miss Maryland team. I think we're going to blow out Illinois. Illinois is just not there. They're not good enough to really compete this team. Talia's terrific, honestly.
Say it, Talia.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't want to screw it up. So
go ahead. Anyways.
Yeah, I just think Maryland's good. They got a great offense. They're a great coach. They're a very talented team. They're a scary team to play, especially at home. So Maryland -14. I feel like it's a solid bet.
Ralph, that's what one of our friends, who I know he's not watching the show, so I can say it. It's what he calls a bounce back spot. Going with Maryland in the bounce back spot.
Okay, all right. I don't mind this one, actually.
Will has them on the no bet list, so
that's okay. All right, Will. Before you pushed this past weekend, you were on a nice little 4-game heater. So tell me who you're rolling with to kind of get back into the green column, and so you can notch another one, and Dr. Bob can put you up for the big dub. Who you're rolling with in this week's best bet?
South Carolina -2 against Florida. A couple notes that stick out to me. Florida just punked South Carolina last year in this game, 38-6. So revenge factor, big time, and I think that means a lot to Shane Beamer. And speaking of Beamer, as a head coach, he is 3-0 off a bye week, averaging a cover by 3 touchdowns. So I like them big. Also, Florida has lost 13 of 14 away from the swamp. So Napier has not figured out how to win away from the swamp. So I like South Carolina. I like them a lot. They're coming off a bye week. They needed that. I think that offensive line is going to start gel, start to gel the second half of the season, and they start with Florida, which I think is a very gettable team for them.
This game's in Gainesville. Am I right in saying that? Or is it in
Columbia?
Is it in Columbia? It's in Columbia. Okay, yeah, that's going to help big time. That's really going to help big time for them.
Otherwise, you just
threw off everything you just said.
Why'd you say that stat that Florida can't win away from home?
Yeah, that would obviously I wasn't listening, so it's what it is. I'm gonna roll with mine. Here we go. Best bet. I'm gonna go to the almost competitive conference here, where I'm gonna go to the CW channel, where 17 people in 400 million households will be able to watch this game. So make sure you try to tune in if you can. This is a game where I think it's too low. Like, I don't think Pitt is good, and I think Louisville is continuously building up. I don't think they're a great team, but I think they are a solid to good team. And I think that they're going to be kind of in that upper echelon of the ACC when the season's in, maybe top 5. I think at Louisville winning this game, I think they continue to roll. Pitt's a tough place to play, but it's not the same Pitt. And I like Pat Narduzzi. I think he's a really good coach, but I don't see Pitt being able to really stay in this ball game. Especially
how good can he be?
Deion
Sanders doesn't know who he is.
That's also true. And Jordan Addison didn't even want to stay and play for him. So there's a lot of factors to talk about Pat Narduzzi. And Georgia Tech beat them last year. So how really good can this team be? I'm taking Louisville -7.5. So there's our best bets. CW Channel 69. Make sure to catch it on your local listings. If you don't have cable and you don't have the ability to go buy rabbit ears, the ACC is just going to give you the middle finger and say, sorry, you can't watch this. So that's where the ACC is. The spreadsheet has been updated, and it's about time for us to roll out of here. Will Mannis, Ralph Leary. My name is Bryce Koon. Thanks so much for tuning in each and every single Monday, Wednesday night. We recap college football, and we talk, obviously, the week coming up. We'll be back live again on Monday evening to recap a Week 7 that is sure to impress. I mean, every single week, guys. I can't believe we're over the halfway mark now of college football getting into this season. It's going to be a lot of fun to see some potential conferences start to pull away with the upper echelon of those teams. We'll catch you next time here on another episode of The Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.